Guenther Steiner, a former team principal of Haas F1, and now I do everything a little bit and nothing really. I'm a very busy unemployed, you know.
So kind of, obviously F1 over the last few years kind of has gone into the greater population and everyone's obsessed about the whole thing. From your perspective, Drive to Survive, good thing, bad thing? How do you perceive it?
I think it's a good thing for the sport because, as you said, it has gained popularity and gained popularity with a complete different demographic. You know, young people, female, which before it was like a very much middle-aged man's sport, you know, boring people like me, you know, so, and now it has just opened up to a lot of more people and made it more interesting for people. So I think it's a good thing. Any sport to grow, you know, you need more people, and having young people, that's the future. I mean, if you've got a demographic which is getting older and older, you know what will happen with that, because we all come to an end. But if you get young people, that means the trajectory for the future is pretty good.
But you're a traditionalist over kind of its purity of the sport gone, or do you believe that evolution has to take place and the growth has to happen?
I'm a big believer in evolution. I think, you know, you don't have to forget history of the sport or what was done, but I'm not like, you know, I sometimes say the good old days with a smile on my face, because they weren't this good, you know. I mean, they sound good if you weren't there, but if you were there, I think the days are better now than they were in the old days. So, but being a purist, I mean, you know, but what I think F1 has done very well, the purist can still get his pure sport, because in an F1 race, the race is still the most important thing. But they have put a lot of other elements around what younger demographic wants, you know, because when I was young, you could go to an F1 race and seeing racing cars for 2 hours in the afternoon on a Sunday was interesting enough. Try to do that with somebody who is 18 years old now. So why the hell am I here? What do I do with the other 8 hours of the day? You know. So and if you see what has evolved, like, and I take Miami as a good example. What they have put around the Grand Prix is quite amazing. The entertainment factor. And I always say the purist, if he doesn't want that, just don't use it. It's the same. We spoke about books before. You know, you can pick, I want to see the race, that's it. You know, watch the race and go and do something, go in the garden afterwards, you know. But a lot of people want to go to, the younger people, they want entertainment all the time. And what I always say is when you read a book and, you know, you go through the first 5 or 10 pages, or watch TV and you watch 5 minutes and you don't like it, I don't read the book to the end and then I critique it. Or I don't watch 2 hours of TV and then say, that was shit. You know, yeah, I realized that after 5 minutes. Why do I go to then critique it? It's the same with F1. If I don't like the rest, what is around it, just don't go there. Do something else, what you did before. You don't have to. You're not obliged to do that. So you have a choice, you know, and I find that one, and a lot of people understood that. There is a lot, the purists didn't leave the sport. Yeah. They're just consuming part of it.
And did kind of, with that evolution within F1 itself, kind of what's the split about that? Kind of, are there arguments and there kind of different sides over the fact that moving forward is wrong? And doing kind of when Drive to Survive first came in, were people against it, or?
I would say people were skeptical because they couldn't believe in it, but I keep on saying times are changing, and when Liberty Media came in, they saw the possibility. I mean, some of you guys have been in American sports. I live in the States now since almost 20 years. If you go to American sports, they put a lot of entertainment around a sport event. If you go to an NFL game, then the game is just part of it. The rest is just you go out with your family, you enjoy the day, you enjoy everything, you know. And obviously, people were like, "Oh, this is too much. We don't need this. If we don't need it, but some people want it, you know. We need to give something for everyone, you know. And if you don't want it, so you had naysayers, but now I think most of the people within the sport realize it's actually a good thing having more people watching it, because there is factors which you can cut out."
Beautiful. Let me turn to your time at Haas. Let me ask the question, kind of looking back at it now, how do you review your time there, and what would you like, what would you have done differently, kind of in retrospect?
I think I look back, it was a great time. It was a great time for me. It was a great time for my career, you know. I really enjoyed it, and What would I have done different? Not obviously now with hindsight, you always would do things different, but that's always difficult to say. It's obvious that you would do this different because now you know the result of what happened. So, but in general, I always say in 2020, I focused, and at the time it was the right thing to do because I didn't know where it was going with COVID coming. I focused on just making it survive the team instead of thinking about the future, the vision of the team. Because before I always had a vision for the team. In 2020, I went down just in the trenches and tried to make happen. And then there I lost a little bit momentum for the future, and therefore it never came back as I wanted the team to grow.
And what stopped it coming back? What kind of was it the outside COVID and influences? Was it something for you?
No, the COVID came, and then obviously Mr. Haas, got worried about investment and didn't invest anymore. And that was where I should have pushed more to invest more in that time, because when we came back, it was too late. The train left, the station, and he was pretty happy where he was. Without COVID, I think I could have kept on growing gradually, but then in COVID we got, taken down completely, and I just needed to work to save the team, and I didn't look out for 3-4 years what I need to do to make the team better and bigger.
And so from your perspective, now you've moved into media, full-time media, is that a different skill set you're using now, and do you still yearn to get back into the pit lane?
It's a different skill set, but you learn about this obviously on the other side when you're doing the other job, which helps you. When you get there, I am still learning this side of the media. I'm still not an expert, I would say. I'm still learning, and because I respect a lot of people which do it a long time. I never done it before, and if people is doing it 20 years or 30 years, I hope they are better than me. It's just time. But do I want to go back into it? Not at all cost. If there is a project which I would like to do, yes, but just to get a job, no. I don't live by I don't define myself with my job title. I'm pretty happy, or very happy where I am. Yeah. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. I'm fortunate as well. I wouldn't need to do this, but I enjoy to do it, and keeps you around in the sport, keeps you around the people you really enjoy to be with. You share the passion with, and I think that's a good thing. And as long as I've enjoy it, I do this one, because for me, I could go to a race doing nothing. But why would I go there doing nothing? That is getting old pretty quick, because it's like you're just hanging out, and I need to find somebody to have a coffee with me, After you're coming the third time for a coffee on the weekend, it's like, have you got a job to do? Because I have, so it's better to have a job to do, so at least you keep yourself busy, but you're still with the people,
Fantastic. I'm going to open up now, because I've got a few other questions, but I'm sure people have questions now. Anyone?
Yes, so... so Haas is doing significantly better compared to previous years. Why do you think that is? Is it because of the drivers? Is it the funding? Is it the engineering? What are they currently doing? Do you know what they're doing?
Yeah, because in 23, 23 was the year where we struggled, and I know exactly when we made the decision to focus on 24, which was last year. And with Simone Resta in June, we said we need to do something for the future, because with the concept of car we had in 23, we didn't make any progress in developing. So we developed a car for 24, a new concept of car, and that works. It's the same people there doing it. And last year's car was pretty good, and this year, because the regulation is a well-developed regulation, there is not a lot of movement anymore. So if you had a good car last year, normally you carry on the next year I would say last year they had a good driver pairing. This year I think Ollie Behrman is doing very well. So I think it's, and I don't want to say it was me, but it's the same team. Nothing changed of the team in the technical. They didn't employ anybody new or nothing. It's the same. It's exactly the same people. So that was the aim in 24, to have a better car, and that happened because that car when I left was finished. So I think they're doing better. But it's one of those things. I'm still pretty happy to have left, because it is like, when I see it now, I watch F1 now, and you actually realize how long do you want to work hard to get a point instead of having a dream of going to a podium. I'm pretty happy not to be there anymore, because it's always, we talk about the point, how many, can you talk 20 or 30 years, we got into the top 10. I don't want to do that. I've done it. I got my t-shirt, I'm good,
Yeah. I've got another. Oh, Lucy, I'll come back.
Thank you. Do you think that it was quite a cutthroat decision to sack Liam Lawson after just 2 races? And as an ex-team principal yourself, what do you make of Christian Horner and Helmut Marko's leadership style?
I don't think Liam Lawson was sacked. I think he got a soft landing. I think they gave him I think to put him in that seat was a big risk, and I didn't really understand why they did it. But obviously, I'm not running the team. I would have put Tsunoda in the seat straight away, Liam in the Racing Bull, see how it develops, see how the both develops, and then make a decision for 26. I think they thought Liam is better than he was, but then I think they did the right decision to swap the seats out, because Yuki is there since 4 years at Racing Bulls. It's a little bit the same like I said before. How long can you be in the midfield, until the guy loses all his, drive? It's like, put him in there, find out how good Real is. Then next year you can see what you do with him, because Honda is leaving, so the ties are cut, And Liam Lawson got a soft landing. He now can show that he's worth to stay in F1 or not. But he was not sacked. I think he got a soft landing, and which is good for him. The management style, I worked with Helmut Marko, I know him very well, is like, I think some of the things he does well, and some of the things he, if you look at it, he got as many young drivers wrong as he got right. It's not like that he can say he has a 100% success rate with young drivers. It's very emotional sometimes. I think like when they put Nick de Vries in. Nick de Vries did 1 good race. He's the next best thing after sliced bread. Yeah, I mean he wasn't. No, and I like Nick. He's a friend. But he wasn't. He didn't deliver. He was lucky to be in a Williams in Monza, where the car was just good because Monza is so special. But it's since Mr. Mateschitz is missing at Red Bull, things have changed.
Can I ask you a question off the back of that? One of the things that interests me about Formula One is the fact that it's fiercely competitive as a sport, one of the most competitive sports, but at the same time you are travelling together as an entire industry around the world. What are the dynamics within Formula One about kind of friendships and kind of rivalries, and how do you balance?
No, there is normally there is respect between the people. I think there is, are you friends with everybody? No, but do you hate everybody? No. It's one of these things. I mean, as you say, you're spending so much time not in the same place. You run into each other every second week, So, but I think nobody's there actually which disrespects the opponent, as you say, because everybody knows that you're working hard. Some are better, some are worse. And I think it's the same with the drivers. They normally, most of them have got a very respectful relationship. Most of them, not everyone, because there is the rivalry sometimes between 1 and 2 guys. But in general, it's actually not bad. But is it a big clique which go out and party together? No, not really.
So, how was it working with Magnussen and Hülkenberg? Because they've had in previous years they've had they've butt heads. What kind of encouraged you to kind of go out for them? Because a couple of them were they had left the sport, and then you decided to bring them back. What encouraged that decision?
To bring Nico into the team, I respected the driver. He was out 3 years, and my only concern was, can he still perform, like he did, because he was a good driver. He always was at the wrong place at the wrong time, basically, but it was his decision in the wrong team. He could have done a lot better in his career if he would have been in a better car at certain moments, but it encouraged me, and I obviously knew about this rivalry which they had before, and I spoke with Kevin if it is a problem, and Kevin said no. And I think they became actually, while they're together, good friends. They're still friends now. They just told me, I spoke with Nico, said, I need to speak with Kevin about, they're doing some business together now, So it's like, as I said, there is respect that you can have that odd, falling out because of a race situation. But then, we are all grown-ups, and you say, we do this together to be successful as a sport in general. We need not to have the little rivalry coming in the way of the big picture.
We've got the front row.
We give it to the front row.
So the last 10-ish years of maybe a lot more of F1 has been, in some ways, a little bit boring, in that we had Hamilton dominating for 7 years, then we had Max dominating for 4, and even last year Lando just kept winning everything. I know we're only a few races in, but we seem to have 4 or 5 different people who keep switching around and could be in contention for the championship. So I guess, A, why do you think it's suddenly a really even playing field? And we've got all the midfield teams really coming up a lot as well this year. But also, B, it's really early, but do you have a prediction for who might win this year?
Let's start with why is it very competitive now? First of all, the budget cap now is more and more coming to work, that the smaller teams can catch up. And then it's a stable regulation since a few years, and as I said before, in a stable regulation is everybody comes close together. I mean, in the first qualifying, sometimes the 20 cars are within 1.2, 1.3 seconds, which is quite amazing if you think about it, So I think that has come together, and also the regulation of the engine, they changed that they freeze the engine. Nobody can get ahead with that one, because if you have 20 horsepower more, it's easy to be faster, So, but now everybody gets to a certain level, and then they freeze the engine with the excuse we don't want to spend any money more on it, because otherwise it's almost a balance of performance, So I think next year we throw all this what I just said out of the window again, because a new regulation comes engine-wise and chassis-wise, and nobody knows who is going to be on top of it. And normally when a new regulation comes for 1 or 2 years, one of the teams which got everything right will dominate. I mean, that is the risk with that regulation next year. But you're talking already that there needs to be a window for the engine manufacturers to catch up. If somebody's very good, the other ones need to have a chance within the budget cap to catch up to the other ones. Because what the sport learned, that a dominance is very bad for it. The sport... But introducing a balance of performance, what that is in other motorsport, I explained that a little bit. If somebody's very good like a GT car, he has to carry more weight or gets the power reduced. It's called balance of performance, and I think that is very. You cannot do that in Formula 1, because then it loses its appeal, because it needs to be a free sport, but it needs to be regulated in a way that it is not as evident like balance of performance. And F1 got very good in doing that in certain elements. If somebody's behind, I mean, the big teams will always be the big teams, and that's what they need to be. But hopefully we don't have a dominance. I think this year, because I think McLaren could have been more dominant, but they messed up quite a few things. Good for the spectator, good for us. I mean, thank you, McLaren. I think Oscar Piastri will win the World Championship. It's just like, I think mentally stronger than Lando. I think talent-wise as a driver, they are equal. For me, I wouldn't know who to pick, but just in delivering, Oscar Piastri seems to be pretty, cool about things.
He's cool.
Was there a moment in F1 where there was the realisation that actually dominance is boring?
Yeah, there was, but nobody knew what to do, and obviously the guy or the team which was dominating, they put everything in place that their domination will not end, and then you need to change the governance of the sport so that you can vote on certain things to change the regulations. So the dominating team has got a disadvantage. A lot of politics involved, It's a very complex environment, But in the old days, if you were dominating, you just opposed everything else, because if you opposed, they couldn't change anything, And then with the new commercial agreement which came in place 4 years ago, that changed. You needed less people voting for something to change a regulation. It's everything is a process, very political. A little bit like the government.
Hi. I don't know that much about F1, so I'm sorry if I'm taking us back to basics here. But I was reading a lot about sort of the data analytics of before people even get on the track. I was just wondering how much of the race is won before anyone even sits in the car. And I think you mentioned about the engines just there. So I'm imagining that's a factor as well. Is it sort of like 80-20? Can you analyse it like that? Or what's the sort of...
No, I think with the data, I mean, all the teams have got data and they can set the car up, but in the end, still the humans are deciding exactly what to do, the feeling of the driver. I think the evolution of how much data is used to the good old days, you can see there's very little retirements in Formula One now. Almost nobody has mechanical failures. If you look at it, it's impressive. How complex these machines are, and nobody falls out. You're getting so much better prepared for the racetrack because you do all the simulator work, because the simulators are getting better and better. The setup is done on a simulator, So, I would say the car is 80% of the performance is the car itself. Not only how it is set up, but the performance of the car, and 20 is the driver. And the good way to explain it is, there is no bad driver anymore in Formula One these days. But the worst driver in F1 in the best F1 car can win a race. But the best driver in the worst F1 car cannot win a race. Put it this way. This is the easiest way always to describe how much is the influence of the driver. Max Verstappen, if you put him in a Haas, Alpine, Williams, will not win a race. It's not going to happen.
But has that always been the case? That
has always been the case. It's always been the case. But for example, you put in, Bortoletto, which is a good driver, but he's a rookie. If you put him in a McLaren, he could win a race this year easily. Not easily. He would need to drive, but he would win a race this year because the car is good, And he's a good driver, but he's a rookie, but he would still win a race. Or if you put Isaac Hadjar in a McLaren, he would win a race. Would he win 5 races? Maybe not. But would he win 1 race? Yes.
Dream driver lineup, if you could play kind of fantasy engineer car team to be a principal and pick your 2 drivers from the current. Max and Piastri.
Max Verstappen. I think Max in the moment as a driver, he's above everybody else, because otherwise he wouldn't win races in the Red Bull, because the Red Bull is not the best car,
What? If you last question, go for it.
I'm just trying to pick my last question. So, my mind kind of went blank now. I'm a big fan, so I'm getting. Carlos switching to Williams. I didn't expect it. I think a lot of people didn't expect it. What is this move? And do you know what other kind of teams was he speaking to, and why he kind of inclined for Williams? Because he was he was top of the race last year, whereas now he's like, I don't know, 16th. Like, what was? Yeah, he was like, almost to last.
Yeah, I think when Ferrari let him go, there was no big team there which needed the driver of his profile, and Red Bull he couldn't go back in because he left it, and I think not everything was amicable, so they didn't want him back. Why he picked Williams, I spoke a lot with his father about it. His father is a good friend of mine he's my age, so 2 old guys speaking, because I couldn't really understand it. But I think now looking at it, he didn't do the wrong choice because of the options he had. I think it was the best one available.
What other options?
There was Audi or Sauber, and there obviously with Audi, you can see the future when Audi comes, the big car manufacturers, but they struggle a lot, they struggle a lot. They've got a long road in front of them. And I think Williams gave him a contract that should a better opportunity come, he can get out of it. That's my opinion about it, that he believed in it, and also it was like, okay, if they agree that if I get an offer from one of the top 4, I can leave Williams, that is what they're going to do, because the scientists are very smart in doing contracts. I said,
how about Mercedes? He could have. There was
they had Kimi Antonelli lined up, and there was no chance for him to get there, so.
Let me ask one last question, because for you, what ambitions have you got left for yourself?
There's a lot of things I do in life. I work on a few projects which I cannot talk about it, but my ambition would be, as I said in the beginning, if I go back into F1, having a vision of something and make it happen, that would be something, and being part of a vision, not just doing a job. That is something what I would want to do, but if it doesn't happen, I don't feel I failed, But you work on certain things, there is other motorsport things which I quite like, and I look at it, which are growing, but you know, in the moment, I learned one thing in life. Sometimes you need to be patient. Things always happen. Nothing stands still in life, you know. Everything evolves and changes, and you just need to be at the right place at the right time, and good things happen.
On that note, Guenther, thanks so much indeed.